Hey, everybody, welcome back to Playful Podcast. Today's guest is coming to us from the Ultimate Ice Cream Impact intersection company, which is Ben & Jerry's, of course. We're going to eat some Ben & Jerry's ice cream, and we're going to have a great conversation about impact and about making change and play. So enjoy. Glad you're here.
You're listening to the Playful Podcast with Kristine Michie. Let's jump right in.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Playful Podcast. Oh my God, guess what? Like the quintessential ice cream impact story is about to unfold here because our guest today, Alexa Harrison, is actually an executive at Ben & Jerry's. And if anyone ever put ice cream and impact together anytime before or anywhere I've thought of, Ben & Jerry's would be what comes to mind. So I feel like I'm in the shadows of giants, having following in Ben & Jerry's footsteps. And thank you, Alexa, for being here and sharing part of that story with us today.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
It's so great. Can you tell us, just to kick us off, just give us a little sense of your role at Ben & Jerry's and how long you've been there? I know you have a long impact story and a long impact history, and this is the latest round of that.
Yeah, I am the public relations manager at Ben & Jerry's. It's obviously a global company, but my role really focuses on North America communications and sharing out that impact story and all of the great work that folks are doing there, be it from launching new innovations, as we call them, our flavors and pints, what's happening in scoop shops, and our social mission work.
So great. Thank you for that. I was playing around on the website a little bit and getting ready to talk to you. And this first sentence on the values page jumped out at me. It says, quote, "We believe ice cream can change the world." So you don't even need to say
That's it. Done.
I think that too. Thank you for the introduction. I want to ask you, who is the most playful person you know?
Oh, what a great question. I come from a very playful family, especially my maternal side, my mom's family. I'm Southern, we're storytellers, and there's no gathering without jokes or funny stories and things like that. So I think that is where some of that enjoyment of incorporating play comes from. I would have to say immediately off the top of my head, my aunt is the first person that comes to mind. I feel like all of my friends are very fun too. And my colleague at Ben & Jerry, Sean Greenwood, also very playful and makes work a lot of fun.
I love it. One of the things that people that have been watching and listening to the podcast know about is this work around play that Dr. Stuart Brown, and he's been on the podcast, did. And one of the results of that was these 8 play personalities. And I'll just list them quickly and we can talk more about them, or you can certainly look them up later for more fun. But it might be fun to think about all those people that just came to mind, and your aunt, for example. So here they are: Joker, kinesthete, which means physical rough and tumble play, explorer, director, storyteller, collector, creator, and competitor. Without defining each one, the words are pretty descriptive. Anything resonate for you, for example, about your aunt, maybe about Sean, your colleague, or about yourself?
I think I have a lot of jokers in my life. I myself, I'm gravitating towards storyteller and collector.
Yeah. And collector was fun. I was reading about it, and he talks about collecting experiences, not just things. I thought that was neat. Like people who like to travel can both be an explorer and a collector of experiences and memories and things like that. I love it. So I suspect others would think like me that Ben & Jerry's is probably a pretty fun place to work, even though, as you mentioned, it's a global company. It's a hugely regarded and well-guarded and stewarded and curated brand. That's some of your work, right, as a storyteller in the art department. But is it pretty fun?
It is. So we call headquarters Central. So at Central, as soon as you walk through the doors, you're going to see a red slide. And that slide is welcome for any visitors that are coming through that want to do it. And also, when you start on the job, if you so desire, you can do the slide, and it's like a rite of passage. And so it's very fun. It's very daunting, actually, when you look in it. It's like very dark. Maybe I just haven't been in a slide in a long time, but it's like very dark when you look into it. And then it's a quick, I believe, 7 seconds down the slide. And it's so much fun and exhilarating. And so that part is fun. Physically, obviously, people know that we love our puns. And even writing a press release, want to make sure that we're having fun talking about a flavor. Ice cream is fun. We should exhibit that a little bit. And then I hope I get the quote, but Jerry says, if it's not fun, why do it? That's something that we think about when we're thinking about partnerships, when we're thinking about events for media. We just had an event on Tuesday here in the city in New York, where I'm based. And we just brought people together to play with ice cream and let them play with what it might be like to make their own flavors. And so that was a big hit. We all just got to be big kids for a little bit together.
It does sound fun. It does sound fun.
Yeah.
Your job applicant portal may get a lot of hits after this episode.
Yeah, exactly.
Not to mention, we haven't even talked about really like eating the ice cream, right? I guess so. I should ask, how much like ice cream eating happens around the office, so to speak, around Central?
Yes. As probably not as often as people think, but we are allotted 3 pints per day. So
that's about my amount. That's great.
And again, that event, how much ice cream? If I had to guess, it probably equated to maybe a pint, 2 pints by the end of the day. Like, we were sampling things together. When I'm there, I definitely take advantage and try new flavors. I was just there last week, actually. This is June. So in my June visit, I sat outside with a pint. We have a nice outdoor area, and it's the beginning of summer at this point. So just taking in the vitamin D with a little bit of calcium and sugar.
I love it. I was thinking when you shared about that slide, let me see if I can create a little bit of a metaphorical moment here and see if this resonates. I was thinking about the fact that it was dark and the promise was that it was going to be safe and it was going to be fun, but couldn't see down to the bottom. You didn't know how many twists or turns it might take. So this could be a metaphor for how play is a promise, but it still takes a leap of faith. And I wonder, as we talk about bringing play into workspaces, especially workspaces that are doing heavy work, right? Big problem solving, like the folks that listen to Playful Podcasts and have been guests like you. Anything that brings to mind about the leap into play, which still takes some courage?
Yeah. The very first thing that comes to mind is improv. And so for somebody like me that's not the first thing I'm going to gravitate towards, but anything that you do that's out of your comfort zone that you are just afraid to do, I feel like there's usually a reward on the other side, right? So with the slide, dark, like you just said, there's a promise that it should be fun. And I had a bunch of people cheering me on also. So there's that importance of community as well to tackle all of those scary things together. So that sort of gave me the sort of trust and space to sled. And it was as fun as promised. Yeah.
Hector Mujica from Google.org was on the first episode of this second season, and he's worked all over the world and lived all over the world accordingly. And I asked him about kind of how play has shown up in different cultures, and he talked about that. But then he made a really great point, which is he felt that the outcome of the play, even if the kind of the end to the play took different forms, that the outcome of it was often very similar. And like you were saying, connection, community building, like those that had been through the slide in this case before, since you were trusting all the others who had done this as a part of their onboarding, initiation, and joining. And on the other side of that, you would have had that shared experience that connects you in a different way.
Absolutely. Yeah. And when I went down, one of our flavor partners and actually another fellow B Corp, they were also going down the slide for the first time. And it's just like like you just said, we'll always have that sort of fun moment to look back on. And it's also a great way to break the ice with folks. Like if they're just coming in to visit or you're in for meetings, and actually this is a great point. This was a meeting break. We were there for all day meetings. And so we took a little ice cream and slide break, and then it was time to get back to business.
Oh, I love it. I've got a play curriculum that I've developed to share with groups of change makers, whether it's in a retreat setting or a coaching session with an executive. And I feel like maybe it's in equal proportion to the pain and challenges of these current times, that the people interested and open to play strategies is increasing. And maybe it's the sense that we tried all this other stuff, so why not give this thing a try? And any sort of hesitation I might have had that any of this might seem silly or superfluous, unnecessary, either if people have that feeling, it's quickly dismissed, or they're not even thinking, they're thinking, why not? Versus that idea of trying the same thing and expecting different results.
Exactly. Personally, I feel coming out of the pandemic, a lot of us are just like, listen, life is short. Why be stuck in some of these like stodgier ways of work when we could be having fun while doing it, or at least taking a break to do some play that is essentially a form of self-care. And so I think that might be one reason why people are gravitating towards that a little more.
Yeah, I love it. You mentioned, and for folks who don't know, I think though probably most people that listen to the podcast are familiar with what a B Corp is. But if you would, just to remind those of us who haven't thought about it in a while, or those who didn't know, tell us what B Corp is, both because Ben & Jerry's is one, and you used to work at B Labs, which is the certifying organization for this really cool designation, which basically is a company that is doing the double bottom line or triple or quadruple bottom line. Tell us a little bit about that work.
Yeah, exactly. B Corporation, or B Corp for short, are businesses that have essentially pledged to use their business as a force for good to benefit people, planet, above profit. As you just said, the goal is a triple bottom line. These are businesses that are for profit, but they have missions baked in where their businesses will benefit the communities that they serve. And so it's a constant work in progress. And Ben & Jerry's is no different. Last year, Ben & Jerry's celebrated 10 years as a B Corp. And so we have a 3-part mission that is focused on product, economic prosperity, as well as product and environment, of course. Yeah. And that's where all of our work, when we say social mission, we want to make sure this idea of linked prosperity, that if we are benefiting in profits, like that, the people that we work with, that our producers, our customers, everyone that we touch is also benefiting. So, and that's just the ecosystem that B Lab and B Corps are.
Yeah, fantastic. Was that a fun place to work?
Yeah, the work is ongoing, and they're essentially trying to change the world. So it's like a very big task. And so you have to make time to play and to relax a little bit and use that time to commune with each other and take care of yourself. And so they make that space. One thing that I've taken away from that I really enjoyed during the time there that was offered is mindfulness coaching. And so that has opened a portal to other methods of play for me that I still do. I actually brought a little show and tell. A friend gave me these. They're mindfulness cards. And every morning or night, depending on, we're just flowing and vibing, but it's a little bit of short meditation of thinking about how can I be kinder today, or how can I think about balance or rest a little bit more. So there's 4 categories. You take one card and just like meditate on that for as long as you want to. And then, yeah. So some of that, like that was the thing that I didn't do before B Lab.
Yeah, cool. It actually looked like almost like that could be a carton of ice cream.
Yeah.
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 It looks flavorful, right?
Yes. I love color. I love bright things. Yes.
That is great. Have you specifically used play with any meetings that you've been in charge of, convenings or gatherings? You talked about the event earlier this week where certainly it was playful. For example, maybe when you've got an agenda, needless to say, you're a business, of course, right? So there's a big goal or objective in front of you. How have you used play for some of the work sessions that have been pretty heavily agendized towards something?
Yeah. Off the top of my head, cannot think of one that I've personally done, but that I've been a part of. I've been in Jerry sometimes for, again, those longer meetings that we might have or where things may venture into harder topics. We sometimes incorporate trivia. A colleague was doing a presentation on Gen Z and marketing, and in the middle of it was like, okay, how much do you actually know Gen Z? Let's do a little quiz. And similarly, for Juneteenth, the company has off and then celebrates all together as a company a few days later. And we had speakers and presentations and that sort of thing, but we also had a little trivia break that was both educational and fun. Those types of things are really great. Our marketing and PR teams is a fan of word games. So at the end of a meeting, we might break for a little bit of Scriblio is what it's called. It's basically like
How does that work?
quick hangman, I think. Or I guess it's more like Pictionary. But you get a word if you're up and you have to draw what that word is and everybody has to guess. Whoever guesses the fastest gets the most points. So we do a few rounds of those. Yeah. It's like 15 minutes and then you feel rejuvenated.
And it seems my experience has been both as a receiver of these ideas and as a facilitator of them. If the culture of the organization is, aside from that moment and that day and session, exemplative of play and of that kind, it really works. If it's a little bit oddball and it feels like the culture, it feels like a little forced, like now everyone, please have fun. Please ignore the fact that the rest of the time you might be miserable. Like a culture, an organization, and probably every company would start somewhere, start introducing some playfulness into almost like into the air you breathe or the water you drink in your company and corporation organization. And then you can have actually play breaks. Otherwise, play breaks will just feel like that, kind of back to the grind after we play versus it being an iteration and a moment related to how the company operates.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get the words out exactly like I wanted there, but I think you know what I was. And I'm remembering a place I worked where that wasn't the case. And it felt like a roll your eyes moment versus, oh, this is fun. And so I think good on that person and that company for trying, because maybe that was the beginning of their play journey.
Totally. Yeah. I think we all probably have had those moments of where something has been organized. And I think when that happens, though, what you just described, it's when folks are not receptive of it, it's because other needs aren't met. So it doesn't feel like there's a space or time to play. And so I think when employees are thinking about how to dabble into play, like it does need to be authentic. I think at that point, maybe it's just asking employees what might be most receptive to start with.
Yeah, great idea. I'm working with an organization right now that is going to be building up a new, bigger practice measuring and evaluating the impact of the work that they do. And they have a retreat coming up, and they wanted to see if they couldn't seed some of that, let the directors know that in 2024, we're really going to be putting a push on measuring the impact of, it's an anti-recidivism organization, measuring that. We were thinking about maybe just some sort of a speech or presentation about measurement and evaluation at the retreat. And I said, wait, what can we do, like an activity where measurement matters? So we haven't fully landed on it, but we're going to do something with baking, because even more than cooking, you can fake it and taste it along the way. But baking is I'm not a scientist. I think chemistry, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Baking needs the right amount of the things with measuring spoons, measuring cups, etc. So we're thinking about maybe doing like a great bake-off kind of activity. And then the question is whether or not some people maybe they won't have any measuring spoons. And what will they do? And maybe somebody will have a missing ingredient. And what will they do? And I want anyone to have a failure, but also maybe that tangible experience of not having what you need to measure and then wishing you had. I don't know. So again, trying to take the subject matter, which is serious and important, and do something with it playful to be more memorable and hopefully more long lasting and in fact
that sounds great. I think that's going to work well. Yeah.
I have some cakes they're really short and some cakes that rhyme. Right?
Yeah. And listen, I'm a visual learner, so that sounds right up my alley.
I love it. Brene Brown has, and I can't remember which book or which talk, but one of them, something that stuck with me that I read was, she said, do you have anything you do for no reason? And that having something like that you would describe as that is a important kind of playful gesture to you for yourself. And when I first heard it, it was during the pandemic. And I was like, I couldn't think of anything because it's not that I don't ever have any fun or I don't take breaks, but all of it added up to me as something that would be productive in some way, even like exercising. It's not for no reason. So I added bird watching and poetry. And I have no like plans to become like especially good at either. And that's important. Like maybe I will, but I'm not trying to. When I say something for no reason, anything come to mind that you've got?
Yeah, I love this question because it's been on my mind, honestly, for at least 2 years. Like you said, in the pandemic, I think everybody picked up some sort of hobby and none of them really stuck for me, really, except French, so I love languages. I'm using Duolingo like so many others and just wanted to see if I could. So that's something that I've stuck with.
Yeah.
It could be useful, obviously, if I keep it up, it sticks, but I'm just enjoying it. And then I've always dabbled in painting here and there. I have a whole art kit of art supplies, and when the mood strikes, I will do it, but I try not to feel like I need to do it. I think hobbies should be something that you're just drawn to and do it because you like it. And so I think the only other thing, which I've left to the wayside for right now because it's been a little busy this year, but in the pandemic, I also started a Substack newsletter that is just like my own little recommendations about film and TV to watch that I've enjoyed, that I think others would enjoy. But as also, I'm not trying to get a ton of new followers. Like I just told a few friends, and if they want to open it, great.
It came to mind the difference for me between having a novel I can't wait to get back to. I'm like waiting to have whatever stop happening so I can go grab the book, versus I love self-help books and nonfiction too, but I don't like salivate around them like I do with like a great novel that I can't wait to find out what's going to happen and turn the page. That I got to remember to make sure I have one of those always on the nightstand, because that obviously feels playful to like drop everything because I got to see what's going to happen to this made up world that I'm engaged in.
Yeah, absolutely. I have so many unfinished books. And there's one on you saying that there's one on my nightstand that I'm not going to remember what it's called, but it is a book of poetry. I'll have to get you a link for this for later.
Yeah,
but
we'll put it in the show notes.
Okay. Yeah.
Awesome.
But it's all about relationships, interpersonal and romantic. And each page is just a takeaway for you to ruminate on. And so you can read as much or as little as you'd like.
I love it. Okay. So I said the word salivate, and I didn't do that on purpose, but maybe I did subconsciously. So I think it's time to have some ice cream.
Yes. All right.
I've got mine in a little cooler here. Yours might be in the refrigerator or the freezer.
I do have to. I have to go get it.
Go grab it, and I'm gonna do a little riff on today's ice cream. So guess what, folks? We're having Ben and Jerry's today. That wouldn't surprise anyone. And Alexa and I chose 2 different flavors. And here's mine. And you all may know Ava DuVernay, who is a fantastic filmmaker. And this ice cream has got her image on it, as you just saw. It's called Lights Caramel Action. And it's vanilla ice cream with salted caramel swirls, graham cracker swirls, and gobs. I love the word gobs. That's just going to be awesome. Gobs of chocolate chip cookie dough. And those of you who are students at all of Ben and Jerry's, you'll know there's a whole thing about the chunks and how many chunks and how big are the chunks. And I think as I recall in reading a book about Ben and Jerry, kind of difference of opinion about the importance of the chunks. And I'm glad they split the difference and they went with lots of chunks. And you can also buy chunks on the side if you want more. And I've got mine out, and tell us what you're having.
Okay, so I have chosen our limited batch flavor, and I'm so sorry if this comes out after summer because I don't know if it'll come back, but it's called Ice Cream Sammy, and it's a vanilla-based ice cream with chocolate sandwich cookies and chocolate cookie swirls. So it's just gobs, divine gobs of chocolate. If you like chocolate cookies, there are huge chunks of them. They're so good.
Ooh, and I have to also tell you, and you probably knew this, Alexa, but I'm reading this and not surprised that every pint sold of Ava DuVernay's flavor, some dollars go back to her Array Alliance, advancing social justice through art. And that's arraynow.com, ARAY now.com.
Absolutely. Yeah. And Ava had hands-on decision making with this. She named it. So this is her ice cream baby, and we are so excited to be working with her. And the flavor is delicious. She picked a lot of great ingredients.
Okay, cheers. Oh yeah. Oh my God. Oh, wait, there's my first gob. Okay, we're gonna have 2 bites before we start talking again. At least I need to.
Okay. Yeah, I'm digging for a cookie chunk, but
I'm never sure how strong this microphone is for picking up.
I know. I'm sorry to the audience. So good.
Oh, somebody was telling me I should start sending out in advance to people the ice cream we're going to be having so they can get their own pint. They can have it while we're listening. Stay tuned for that idea, folks. Okay. So what's the scoop? This is this part of the episode when we eat ice cream. What's the scoop on how you came to care? Anything about your sort of personal impact origin story? When do you first recall looking up at the world and thinking if something wasn't fair, maybe you wanted to help balance it out, make it right, and be part of the solution?
Yeah. I was a Girl Scout. So if that's actually probably, if we dug deep enough, the first instance of, again, thinking about community and, how to give my time to others and other communities that might need them. I also went to Catholic school growing up. So there's a lot of schooling there. We had mass every week. And so just being able to have that sort of positive messaging around like how we should be moving through the world in a more selfless way. But from a working perspective, I want to say within the last, actually, 4 jobs ago, maybe now, I used to work at a movie theater in New York it's called Nighthawk Cinema. They're the first dine-in theater, so you can get cocktails and dinner while you're watching your films. But that was the first time that I ever did community work through my job. And so, they operate into Brooklyn neighborhoods. At the time, they hadn't yet moved into the second, but that was part of it. It's just like being on the ground and getting to know the neighbors and getting to understand what matters to them and creating programming that would matter to them and basically opening our doors, so to speak, like before the actual new location opened. And I don't know, it was just cool. I hadn't done anything like that before. And when I moved on from there, I took that way of thinking with me. And then when 2020 happened and Black Lives Matter really swept over the nation, I, like a lot of people, and then obviously a global pandemic.
Yeah.
With everything happening, it just, like many, I turned inward and was, what would I want out of work? What would I want all these days? Especially, I think being physically unable to go anywhere. It's like, what can I feel good about if I'm stuck in my home, like being able to put out into the world? So that is how I ended up at B-Lab. Basically, it was like, this is a perfect amalgamation of all the things that I've done up until this point and all the things that I'd like to do. And then Ben and Jerry's is like also like it, but towards a different audience. So it's this community I'm very excited to be a part of still. And just everyone in it is so awesome and all working towards a similar goal. So it's nice to be able to have podcasts like this and what you're doing and other ways to share in that community.
Oh, Alexa, I tell people all the time that I just hang out with people that care all day long.
Yeah.
And like, it's really true. I'm talking to philanthropists who are giving their money away to make a difference. I'm talking to people doing the work to make a difference. I'm to impact investors. Everybody cares about everybody or other things and besides themselves and trying to have impact in the world. And I also believe there's more good than bad. There's more of those people than quote unquote the other people. And I haven't met all the good people yet. So I'm just going to keep meeting more. That's my goal. And here we are, right? And the podcast is a chance for, I'm so lucky that I can set up this platform. Now other people get to meet through this. And that keeps extending the work. So I'm just loving. I was thinking, Girl Scouts, do you remember a specific like service project or anything that you did that is the strongest memory?
Oh, man. Because I'm eating these cookies, all I can think about are the cookies right now. So.
Totally.
I'm pretty sure we did a cleanup, but I can't picture where it was.
Yeah.
Oh, and I want to say organizing some sort of giveaway for unhoused people. Yeah. My school at the time was like catty corner from a shelter. So it's a place that they organize a lot of give backs to.
Love it. I want to make sure I let you tell us either probably mostly through your work, but just broadly, is there an issue area or issue areas that you're most passionate about where you would think you're most effective and you're most driven to see change?
I would say personally, what comes to mind is just, and this doesn't really relate to like capitalism. Maybe it does if we dig deep enough, or businesses, but I want to do more for teachers, to be honest. And like, also, again, coming out of the pandemic, I think people see how little they're working with and how hard they work. And if you think about at least my best memories in school, like I think we all have a favorite teacher that really, they change lives. So I would love to do more for teachers through work. We are doing a lot around racial equity, it just broadly.
Yeah.
And I think one area that I don't know as much about yet as I would like to is our criminal justice system and our private prisons, and just knowing how we're the only country, I believe, that operates in this manner. So wanting to do more there to raise awareness about it and also change that operation. And most recently in April in Step 420, which, is most widely known as being a stoner holiday, we, for the past few years, have been shifting that towards cannabis justice. Yeah. And this shift that now that cannabis is legal in so many states, the number of Black and brown people that are locked up for minor possession that could be creating their own sustained wealth through owning a cannabis shop or not. And so just those types of stories are interesting to me and creating a new interest within the racial equity space and wanting to just learn more about tangible stories like that we can change.
I love it. Yeah. And the issues around licenses and some of the things that are turning cannabis into a business, all those systemic things pop up again. And the entrepreneurs that want to pursue that, entrepreneurs of color, face the same barriers they do if they're trying to open an ice cream shop. And so what are those things about capital access, networks, capital assistance, technical assistance that can help people breaking down those barriers too? So I agree with you. That's an exciting area. All right. So in the last moment here, anything you want to call to our attention regarding Ben & Jerry's and how we can, aside from eating the ice cream, partake in, I think you have a pretty robust set of opportunities you can access online to letter writing and different things like that. How do the campaigns show up that we can participate in?
Absolutely. We on benjerry.com. Folks can head there we have a blog. First of all, our team is amazing at putting a lot of educational materials on our social media accounts. So definitely check us out at Ben & Jerry's on Instagram and on TikTok to get quick snippets of understanding important issues very quickly. And so we post them there, but we also have blogs that are a little bit more in depth. And then, like you said, we have letter writing campaigns, the cannabis justice that I mentioned. We still have letters on their templates for writing governors to beg them to grant clemency within their states, because it's easier to do it at a statewide level than it is at a nationwide level or federal level. And we're coming up on a big election year again. I can't believe it. And so I know that we'll have a lot of things coming up there of just informing people of their rights and other people's rights and rights that are being challenged and how you can help. And the state level bit, I think, is also just important to reiterate that we should be watching that. And we'll have even more resources on our page around that.
Love it. I'm thinking ice cream is a great get out the vote incentivizer. I suspect
yes.
we have used that and we'll use that again. So count
yes.
for the word on that. Thank you so much. I think I had more bites than you. So when we go off,
you did.
Feel free before it melts. And thank you again for your time. And thank you to Ben & Jerry's for the ice cream. And thank you to Ben & Jerry's for really being the ones that did it first, the originators, so much of the originator of the double bottom line, social impact work, and then especially impact in ice cream.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
So happy to be here. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us for that great episode with Alexa Harrison from Ben & Jerry's, the ultimate intersection of impact and ice cream. The two things that stick with me, and many that I want to share out as double scoops. First of all, when Alexa shared with us about the play breaks that they take in their workday, even in the middle of specific meetings. Now, they do have a slide at their office and they have a lot of ice cream, of course. So maybe we'd all think, well, that's pretty easy, but it's intentional. And they have a culture, an open-minded and informal and casual culture while doing big, big business that allows for these play breaks to be really significant in keeping the innovation going and giving people resilience and kind of a sense of sustainability to the big issues that they're tackling, in addition to the big company that they're running. And the second one, because of that, I think the second double scoop is the reminder that when you do that, it allows your people, your employees, your staff, your team members to be creative and try new things. At the end of the episode, Alexa was talking with us about some of the issues that she wants to work on next. And it went everything from cannabis justice to teachers and giving them more tools, which we certainly learned during the pandemic. They needed better tools and more support, to talking about get out the vote efforts. So the culture of Ben & Jerry's allows and encourages the employees to think about what do they want to work on next. And that was really exciting to think about. Again, not to mention thinking about flavor ideas. So what fun. Thanks for joining us, and glad you're part of the Playful family.
Thank you for listening to the Playful Podcast with Kristine Michie. If you want to stay playful as you tackle the world's problems and get all the scoop on today's tastiest ice cream, click to follow or subscribe so you never miss an episode. You can learn more about Kristine on LinkedIn and her work with changemakers worldwide at impactfulinc.com. That's impactful with 2 L's, INC.com.